Assalamu alaikum. We covered last time the words, الكلمات, and speech, الكلام. So we had an idea what the grammarians mean when they use these words, speech, kalam, and words. Now, here in this second book that we are studying in this playlist, they describe another definition here for the parts of speech. So here it says that the words formed from the alphabet are three types. نوع يسمى فعلا, a kind that is called verb, فعل. ونوع يسمى اسما, and a type that is called a noun. ونوع يسمى حرفا, and a type called حرف, a letter, which they mean a meaning letter. So this is the division of the words, or how they are divided. Here we saw before examples for nouns and the meaning letters. Now we go into the verbs, get some idea about the verbs. Here they say فالفعل, the verb, like, مثل, كتب, كتب, he wrote, كتب, and ويكتب, يكتب. I usually, if the word goes under the grammar change or it changes its end, I use the red color. So among the verbs, the present tense verb is the verb that changes its end. Other verbs, they stay the same. This is fixed, كتب. واكتب, here here يكتب, this end changes on the present tense. That's why I put this U here. So يكتب and واكتب. This here is the command or the request. اكتب. Notice here the changes to this one word. Now, the important thing to notice about the verbs or the words in general in Arabic is they go back to a three-letter root. Notice this root here. This is the past tense of the word write, which implies the third person singular masculine. كتب, he wrote. And this is the bare minimum for a word or a verb in Arabic. The verb كتب here. You see the three letters كتب. And most of the verbs in the Arabic language goes back to a three-letter root. This here is a four-letter root, also the bare minimum. So these type of verbs, they go back, they end with four letters at their root. And this is the bare minimum. There is no additions to it. This is the pure original verb. So دحرج here, which means he rolled, like a ball or something. He rolled the ball, دحرج. You see this is four letters. This here is wa and, which means and. دحرج. This is the verb. دحرج. دحرج, he rolled. So these are the bare minimum in the Arabic language. Either a three-letter root or a four-letter root. So here they give you an example of these bare minimum that you can have without additions. كتب, يكتب, he is writing. اكتب, a command, write. You're asking someone to write, you say اكتب. دحرج, he rolled. يدحرج, he is rolling. دحرج, roll. You're asking someone to roll something, you say دحرج. This is a command. So now in here you see they gave you the three-letter root, an example of a three-letter root verb, and a four-letter root verb. And they gave you the past, the present, and the future, because a command or a request can only indicate the future. It's something that did not happen yet. You are asking for it to happen. So here, same thing. This is how the original, the dahraj, here 4-letter root, changes in the present, and changes in the command form. So these are just examples. We're just discussing, looking at examples. We're not going too deep into details. Now here you see they give you another example of verbs. انطلق ينطلق انطلق, which here انطلق means to launch. So when the contestants in a race they start the run, you say انطلقوا. They launched their race, or they started. So that's what انطلق ينطلق. This is present, this is a command. But notice this is 5-letter root. What this means, this is an original of 3-letter that was some other letters added to it. So whenever you see a verb that has 5 letters like here, or 6 letters like here, that means it has an origin of a 3-letter or a 4-letter, and there were more letters added to it to give a different meaning. So in here you have this انطلق, he launched, ينطلق, he's launching, and here launch or go or start, usually in a context of a race or a start of something. So here استخرج يستخرج واستخرج. Notice when you learn how these verbs, the roots behave when you want to get a different meaning or a different type of verb. Here the word خرج, this is the original verb خرج, 3-letter root. He exited, or he came out of the house. So you say خرج من البيت, he came out of the house. خرج, خرج, he came out from the house. Now if I want to say extract, make something get out of something, you say استخرج, he extracted. You see what's the point of making these additions? This ast, if you add it to a 3-letter root, this is the type of meaning it gives you. استخرج. So now this خرج, he got out, now becomes he extracted by adding these 3 letters. Now you have the present tense of this form. After you add these letters, you can get a present tense and a command form, and it's you can deal with it as a different verb. But now you can see you can take it back to the root. Whenever you know the root verb, now you will understand what the changes or what type of meaning now is added by adding these letters. So يستخرج, he is extracting. استخرج, extract. So this gives you an idea of how to go about learning the verbs. You know you have a 3-letter root or a 4-letter root. These, they follow a pattern of change. So they either end up with 4 letters or 5 letters like here. They did not give a 4-letter. They did not want to mix these now. But you can have this turn into 4 letters, this كتب, or 5 letters or 6 letters. This is one thing. Also, it's important to note, just because you have like 10 or 12 patterns that you can change the 3-letter root in, or so you can have a different verb, that does not mean that it was used. So that does not mean that the Arabs used every verb and they derived 12 verbs from it. But what they used, that's the way. If they change the verb, that's the 12, or usually they list just 10 ways of the verb being changed. And as I said, that does not mean they did this with every verb. So you don't just come to every verb and just make these changes. But if they used it, that's how you use it. Of course, now with the science and advancements, this is a useful tool. If the word was never used, they can use the rules to extract a different verb for whatever they need. But this is it's important to note, so you don't just use all the patterns with every verb. So we'll talk now about the times. Notice the difference between a verb and a noun, اسم, is it indicates a time. So this is the difference between a noun and a verb. It indicates an event, an action, and it ties it up with time. So when you hear a verb, you understand an action or an event, and you understand a time, either a past, a present, or a future. So this is what you should consider when you're looking at a verb. Is it a past, or is it in the present or the future? Now in the next video, inshallah, we will continue with some sentences that have verbs in the past and the present and the future. Assalamu alaikum.